So what I'm going to talk about is how to set up FLexiDESIGNER, in this case MUTOH Edition, with VerteLith. MUTOH VerteLith is a RIP software, so that you can saw-proof and set up color management in that FLexiDESIGNER to match the color management settings in the RIP software. That way both will be compatible and more compatible with each other. So what am I talking about when I talk about saw-proof? Well, if we were to draw something on the screen here and paint it this lime green, that color that you're looking at is just an RGB green. It does not represent what's going to happen when you print it. In most printers, that's going to become a little bit darker color. This is a pretty difficult color to achieve. So FLexiDESIGNER has built into it a button up here to the top called Saw-Proof. And when you click on that button, it actually changes the color of the green box to represent what's going to happen when you output the file. Now, the way it does that, the way it knows what color to change to, is found in the Edit menu under Color Settings. And these are the color management settings. So basically, this is going to be the monitor profile, and it's very important to have a custom monitor profile. I'll show you where to get that or how to set that up. This will be the printer that you're printing to, the profiles. There will be an input profile for both the RGB and CMYK and rendering intents. Now, don't get too wrapped up into that color settings dialog box yet. Let's start, because the very first thing that you're going to need to do is I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to go to a website called TFT Central. This is, I'll post the actual website address in this video. What this is normally I would have a i1 or some kind of monitor profiling device where I would make a custom profile for my specific monitor, and I have actually done that on my monitor. But if you don't want to invest in that kind of equipment, I guess the next best thing to do is to find a monitor profile that represents your model of monitor. So you really need to know the model of your monitor. That's one thing. When you know that and you go here, what you're going to find is this is a database of monitor profiles. So let's say that you had an Acer. You would click A. It would take you to that window where all the Acers are. Here's all the Acers, you know, all kinds of the Asus, you know, different names, right? So what you're doing is you're looking for your specific monitor. Okay, so for instance, in my case, right, I'm going to go back. I have a BenQ monitor right now, so I click on the B through C, and it will take me there, and you'll see that there's quite a few BenQ monitor profiles. Now, I did not see one that was specific to my monitor. My monitor is a little bit older, so probably nobody's made a profile for it. The next best thing I could do would be maybe to pick a profile that's a very close match. So I could do that. In fact, many of you may have a better monitor, and it maybe came with a CD or DVD, and it might actually have a monitor profile on it. In fact, my monitor did have that, so I'm using that monitor profile. I've also built one using an i1. So the one that I have, the i1, would be the best monitor profile to use. The second best would be the monitor profile that came on that DVD, and the third best would be to find one in here, either that matches my monitor or is close to it. Now, the first thing you'll do, I'm just going to grab one of these real quick. It doesn't matter which one. You click on that, and it's going to download it. And these monitor profiles are going to have that ICM extension on the end. So place that somewhere where you know where it is, okay? I'm going to put it in my downloads folder here. You can put it on your desktop or wherever you want to put it. Now, depending on what version of Windows you have and so forth, once that downloads, if you want to install that in Windows, you can just go to where that folder is. So I'm going to show this monitor profile. Okay, so it's going to my download folder right here, and there's my profile. And typically you can just right click on that, and the menu that will come up may have, if you just look through the menu, it may actually have in here somewhere an actual install. So it would be like just install it. Okay, that would be installing it in Windows. What that's going to do for you is that's going to put that monitor profile and make it available in VerteLith, but not in Flexi yet. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. So let's go back here. I'm going to go in VerteLith here now, right? So let's say that I installed that profile in VerteLith. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my preferences, and over here in the advanced tab, I'm actually going to go to soft proofing profile, and you can see I have some that are custom in here. There's some that are pretty common. In fact, this is probably preset to this or something like that. sRGB might be set like that. In my case, I'm using my BenQ monitor, so I'm going to use that profile with my VerteLith. That's all you have to do in VerteLith, right? So just click Save there. And then we'll come back to that in just a minute, okay? So let me minimize that. All right, let's go back to now how we're going to actually install. We'll go to Flexi again. How do we get, because if you're using FLexiDESIGNER or FLexiDESIGNER MUTOH Edition, how do you install these profiles so you can use them in FLexiDESIGNER? Because what you're going to find is if there's no profiles installed, this printer here is probably just going to say CMYK. It won't give you any profiles, it just says CMYK right there. So how do we add these in here? It's very easy to do, okay? Now on Windows, what you want to do is hold the window key down and press E, the letter E twice. That's going to start two File Explorer versions in the software here. You'll see that in just a moment. All right, there's one that started, and oh yeah, there's two started there. Okay, so take one of these, right, and just move it over to the left edge or something like that. You'll see it goes kind of like 50%, and then on the right side are all the different windows that are open at the moment. And what you're going to do is click on the other File Explorer, so you'll have two of them next to each other. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, because depending on if you have set up your File Explorer to see hidden folders and hidden files, you may or may not be able to see this. So I'm going to actually share the extension with you, and you should be able to go there. But let me explain what I'm about to do. So I'm going to go to my C drive here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go down to something called program data. Now again, you may not see that folder in your system. If you don't, that's okay. I'm going to give you the exact link to where I'm going here in just a moment. But I'm going to choose program data. Then I'm going to scroll down to MUTOH. There it is. And then I'm going to click on the VerteLith folder, because this is where, when you install VerteLith, this is where all of the profiles are going to get installed. And you'll see these are a number of different kinds of resources for VerteLith to run, and one of them is called profiles. So you're going to open that particular folder, and you'll see two folders in here. One is called color and one is called printer. So let's start with the color one first, okay? What this is the RGB profiles for your devices and the CMYK profiles for your devices. So when VerteLith gets installed, a few things get installed with it in this folder. We'll take a look at those here in just a second. Okay, so let's start with RGB here. So I'm going to double click on that, and we'll look in that folder, and what you're going to see in that folder is a list of different basically input profiles for RGB devices. Okay, so these are the ones that VerteLith has installed here, right? So here we go. We got Adobe, we've got Color Match, we've got, you know, a lot of different ones in here, right? So we want to make sure that we have all of those in that area right there, okay? All right, so I'm just wanted to show you that folder in here. Now, if you'll go over to the right here and go to your C drive again, right? And over on the right-hand side here, we're going to go to Program Files. That's, you know, the FLexiDESIGNER MUTOH Edition version 21 and onward is going to be a 64-bit program. So we're going to the program files area here. So let's scroll down and we'll go to that. There's program files right there. We're going to double click on that and open that area. Then we're also going to find in that area another folder called Mutoh. So I'm going on the right hand side to things that belong to the FLexiDESIGNER MUTOH Edition, and on the left hand side things that belong to the Vertilith program. All right, and there's my Mutoh folder. I'm going to double click on that. You'll see there's my FLexiDESIGNER. Not concerned with this one, just FLexiDESIGNER. I'm going to open that FLexiDESIGNER MUTOH Edition. And this is where all the programs are stored for the FLexiDESIGNER. You'll see one here called ICC Profiles, right? Let's open that. And you're going to see CMYK. There's RGB here and that kind of thing. So let's open the RGB one real quick. Now you'll notice in the RGB one, I actually have my monitor profile right here, right? So if you want to, you can drag and drop that into this area right here, okay? You can, the one that you downloaded, you can actually just put it in this folder if you want to. That's one way to add it to Flexi, okay? That's one way to add it to Flexi. So let's just leave that as is. I'm gonna go back up one. And what we're going to do is look at that CMYK folder. We're going to do the same thing over here on my profiles, right? I'm going to go to this color up here, or just go up one, if you will, on this side. And what we're going to do is open up the CMYK folder on this side as well. So let's open up the CMYK folder. Remember, this is Vertilith on the left, Flexi on the right. So you'll see these are the input profiles for different CMYK settings. And this is the one over here for Vertilith. Now, if you want these two to match exactly, what you would do is copy all of these over here. What I'm going to do, or what I have done a little earlier, is Mutoh has a couple of special ones here that I don't see on the right hand side. It's this one here, Mutoh CMYK, and Mutoh CMYK Expanded. I would definitely copy those over to my Flexi side over here, right? To be safe, what I could do is just copy all of them, right? So I would always have everything that Vertilith has. So I could just grab all of these. I'm going to right click and drag them over here. And then I'm just going to copy them here. Now some of them are already in here, so it'll probably give me a message that some are already there. I can skip those. All I want to do is copy everything that Vertilith had, okay? So now I've got everything in Vertilith in the CMYK folder over here in my Flexi folder as well, all right? Okay, so now let's go up and up on both sides here. And what you're going to find is on the right hand side here, this is the Flexi folder, you're not going to see any printers here. It's going to just say CMYK, gray, and RGB. What I did was I just typed in, I made a new folder. So I clicked the right mouse button, I said new, and then I said folder. Okay, and I'll make one just to kind of show you why I did this, right? Let's make a folder, and I'm just going to call it Mark's Printer. You can name it anything you want. I would try to name it the same as the printer that you're going to be using with Vertilith. So now I have two folders over here in the Flexi area. One is my Mutoh XPJ and one is Mark's Printer. Now I want to show you something. I'm going to minimize these and show you what happened in my Flexi product, right? If I go to my Flexi now and I come over here to my edit menu and color settings, what you're going to see is I can now have two different printers in there. See, I made that Mark's Printer folder and it shows up now in Flexi. So that's just an empty folder. It doesn't have anything in it. See, there's no profiles in there. So I made the same thing with this Mutoh XPJ, which is what I'm going to be using for this demonstration. And how did all these profiles get in there? Well, that's what I'm about to show you. Okay, so just hang on here. Going to minimize that. We'll bring back our two folders that we had here, right? We have that one and that one. There we go. So left side is VerteLith, right side is the Mutoh FLexiDESIGNER. So I'm going to open this folder up here, okay? Just double click on that. And then in your side, what's going to happen is that's going to be an empty folder. Now mine already has some stuff in it because I've moved some earlier. But how did I get these in here? These are actually the profiles that belong in VerteLith. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to where it says profiles, not color, but profiles. And you're going to see a box here that says printer this time. So I'm going to double click on printer. And this is where you're going to see all the profiles for the different equipment that VerteLith supports. So in this case, I'm actually using an SR Pro. Actually, I should have probably named it SR Pro. So I would come in here to my SR Pro, 1641 SR Pro, and you're going to see a list of folders. Right, here's the KCMY, that's right. I'm just using the regular CMYK inks, nothing special in this case. And these are different materials, different manufacturers. So like here's 3M 48C, right? So if I double click that, what you're going to see is you're going to see a list of profiles for that particular media, and that's where VerteLith looks to see what profiles to use for printing. So apparently we have one profile there. Now something I want you to do is just pick the ICC profile here, you know, right click on it and drag it over to this folder. And you want to say copy it here. Now another way you could do that is you could actually just keep, and it's going to say replace because I've already moved it, right? But yours now would have one profile in here. Okay. What you could do is you could just up this like this. Okay. And you see that file's there. Okay. Let's go back up one here. And we'll go to our next folder. And you're going to do this on every folder that you see over here. So here's another folder. Here's the profile. You could also just drag it and drop it on top of that folder there. And that would do the same thing. So you do want to copy. You don't want to move it. You want to copy it, right? And it's going to tell me again that I already have one by that name in there, right? So sure enough, you know, I don't want to put that one in there, right? I'm going to skip that file because I've already got it in there. Is why that message is showing up like that. Okay. So again, I'm just going to repeat this process. I'm going to go back to this KCMY folder in here, and again, I'm going to give you that link in case you've got that folder hidden. That's okay. I can get you there, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to go to each of those folders and copy all those profiles into this folder right here. Once you do that, what you're going to see in the Flexi side is you're going to see that folder for that particular printer is going to have all of the same profiles. These are printer profiles for the whatever printer you've installed here. So do that repeatedly. All right, now let's stop right there. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to actually close these. And we're going to go to Flexi. You may have to restart Flexi before those will show up. I'm not certain. I don't think you do. But in the color settings here, we're going to go to color settings. And what we're going to do is you're going to see this sRGB here, and you're not going to see that BenQ monitor profile in here. What you can do is click add, and wherever that was downloaded or wherever you have it stored, you can just add it in here. Just click add. It's going to bring up a file folder like that, and wherever that monitor profile happens to be, right? So if I have it right here, I could just click add, open. It's going to tell me that I already have one loaded because I've already done this, and it's going to add it into your profile area right here, which is really what you want to do. Okay. All right. So that got added in, right? I know that. And what you want to do in Flexi is you're going to change your color setting so that you're using that BenQ monitor profile. Why? Because if you recall, back in VerteLith, we actually said we wanted to also saw proof using that BenQ monitor. So now they match. Okay, that's good. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I want to say I'm going to print to this printer, and I'm going to use this very first one to make it easy. We're going to say we're going to use this 1641 MS41 3M38C 600 by 1200, whatever that profile is. That's the media we're using. For input profile, for the second tab over here in Flexi, it says RGB, right? But now I'll notice that as I scroll through here, because I added that Mutoh printer, right? If I scroll down here, right, I'm just going to look through this. This is going to be sRGB. I want that to say sRGB because when I'm sending something over to this VerteLith over here, and I'm just going to open up a simple file here to show you this. When I'm in my color management settings in VerteLith, the tab right here, I want these to be set the same in Flexi. So I have my monitor profile set the same. Now I want my color management to be set the same. I want all of these values right here, including the rendering intents, to be set the same. So let's leave this on for a moment. So let's say that in Flexi here, it says sRGB, right? That one right there. I would look in my VerteLith, and I would say, yeah, that's the same. Okay, I like that. This one actually says Grackle coded, but if I were using, say, the CMYK expanded, this Mutoh expanded, I would go to Flexi, and I would say right here where it says CMYK, I would choose, right, Mutoh expanded. Match those. That's what I'm trying to do. For rendering intent, it says perceptual for bitmap and relative for the rest of these. In VerteLith, it says relative for the vectors and perceptual for raster. So I would click Save over here. Okay. And then in my Flexi, I would have everything set up. Okay. So now, if I preview this, if I saw proof this, I get this greenish color, right? When I get ready to send this over, whatever file I have, when I get ready to send that over to my VerteLith now, I can click my VerteLith button. That's the button that actually transfers files from FLexiDESIGNER over to VerteLith. I'm going to make sure that it's a printer that I'm using is the one that I've got set up in Flexi. I'm going to choose my environment, generally just, this is the default environment. And I'm going to send this file, but remember, this is saw proofing, so I'm going to put it on hold, and I'm going to send that green box over there. Now I'm going to go on over to VerteLith, and there's the file that got transferred. It's lime green. It doesn't look the same as I saw in Flexi because it's just an RGB file. So let's edit this, and let's go to color management. And as I said, we want to make sure we used expanded, didn't we? Okay. We used here, we actually set it to this, remember that? We used relative and perceptual here. That's all correct, right? So let's save that for this particular job, right? Remember, we used BenQ monitor profile. That's okay. So now, if I right-click on this file and I say saw proof it, the saw proof that gets generated here is going to match the saw proof that I had back in Flexi, and it does. Look at those two images, they're identical. And that's because I set up the color settings. I transferred the output profiles, I transferred the CMYK input profiles. I made sure that the two programs were speaking the same color management language. When you do that, from now on, whenever I send a file, whenever I prepare a file to get ready to send it over to my VerteLith, right? If I open any file, this is a test chart that I have that I developed for Mutoh, right? All right, so here's my test file. So if I do a saw proof here, that's going to saw proof what it's going to look like. Look at my CMYK spheres here and some of these colors. They're going to change a little bit when I saw proof it. So if I want it to print the way this looks right here in VerteLith, all I need to do now is I need to go to my color settings. I need to make sure that I'm set up In this case, I'm printing to this 1105 600 Avery media. For my input profile, I'm using sRGB and expanded. Okay, that's all cool. So when I get ready to send this file over to my VerteLith, I'm going to click my VerteLith button up here at the top. Click that. When the VerteLith menu pops up to send this file over to VerteLith, I'm going to just simply send it and put it on hold. No problem. I go over to my VerteLith software. Let's first of all turn off our soft proof for that green one. Go over to my VerteLith software. When the file shows up here, I'm going to click Edit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell VerteLith use the same color management settings I had in Flexi. So let's make sure we check that. Yeah, this is permanent. Once I change this to monitor profile, that's permanent, so I know that's correct. We're going to click Edit here. It's going to pop up my job options. I'm going to go to color management. This is incorrect. I used expanded. This is incorrect. I used this one instead. Those look correct right there. All right. I want to make sure that I'm using the right profile with this particular software as well, right? So in my my printer profile over here, I'm going to say, okay, I was using the Avery 1105. I was printing CMYK. I was using the 600 by 600 high speed. All of those are correct. That's the media profile. And I'm going to click Save here. When I do this, because I've matched the input profile, the monitor profile, and the output profile from VerteLith and Flexi together, once I save this, I can do a soft proof, and it's going to look exactly like the one I had back in Flexi. So if I right click on here now and do a soft proof, so this soft proof that you're seeing right here should match the one that I see in Flexi, and it does. These two are identical matches. They look exactly the same. You can compare these all day long, and I guarantee you they're going to look the same. And the reason is because my color management settings were the same. That's the reason why. So what this does is, this process does is, it allows me to build a file in Flexi and soft proof it here, and I won't have to actually soft proof it back in VerteLith if I don't need to, because I'm sure that it's going to look exactly the same, so long as I set up the color management properly. That, my friends, is an excellent workflow when you get a Mutoh printer.